The Syrian conflict is a tragedy that's been unfolding for many years, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives, displacing millions of people. Let's try and dig deeper to better understand this decade-long conflict. To understand the Syrian conflict, it's essential to delve into its historical context. The roots of the conflict can be traced back to the Arab Spring, which swept across the Middle East in 2011. Initially sparked by peaceful pro-democracy protests against President Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria's southern city of Deraa. Demonstrators demanded political reforms and an end to Assad's authoritarian rule, which had persisted since his father, Hafiz al-Assad, took power in the 1970s. However, the situation quickly escalated into a fully blown civil war when the protesters were met with brutal force by the Assad's regime. As the conflict intensified, various factions emerged. By mid-2011, defectors from the Syrian army established the Free Syrian Army (FSA), which aimed to protect civilians and combat government forces. The conflict quickly morphed from a domestic uprising into a multifaceted civil war involving various factions, including extremist groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates. With the Syrian government utilizing brutal tactics to suppress dissent, including mass arrests, torture and indiscriminate killings, major cities like Homs and Aleppo became battlegrounds as rebel groups sought to gain control. By 2012, what began as a protest had transformed into a full-scale civil war characterized by sectarian violence and external intervention. The conflict drew in foreign powers with competing interests. Russia and Iran provided crucial military support to Assad's regime, while Western nations and regional actors like Turkey and Saudi Arabia backed various opposition groups. Now, this international involvement complicated the conflict further, making it a proxy battleground for geopolitical rivalries. The war has been devastating for people, with over 500,000 lives being lost and millions have been forced to leave their homes, either fleeing to nearby countries or relocating within their own. Entire cities have been destroyed, and basic services are no longer functioning. The United Nations has called it as one of the worst humanitarian disasters since World War II. As the fighting continued, extremist groups took advantage of the chaos. In 2014, ISIS became a major player, taking control of large areas in Syria and Iraq. Their violent actions made it harder for opposition groups to unite against Assad's government. The involvement of foreign powers is still shaping the Syrian conflict. Russia is sticking with its military support for Assad, even as it deals with other issues like conflicts in Ukraine. Iran is also backing Assad by providing money and military advisors. Well, on the other hand, Western countries have had a hard time figuring out their approach to Syria. While some have given limited support to opposition groups, there's growing agreement that a long-term solution to the conflict needs to be political. In late 2023 and early 2024, it became clear that rebel forces were making a comeback. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham (HTS), a powerful militant group with ties to al-Qaeda, launched a major offensive and scored some big wins against Assad's troops. Reports say that rebels have taken control of key cities like Homs. At the time of making this video, unverifiable reports indicate that Damascus has fallen and President Bashar al-Assad has fled his country to an undisclosed location. The Syrian civil war has changed a lot since it started more than a decade ago. It's important to look at not just what it means for Syria right now, but also how it influences the bigger picture in the Middle East and around the world.